Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in our last class, we heard about the Yadu dynasty. How Krishna had 16,108 wives, and each wife had 10 sons and 1 daughter. And was specifically mentioned Rukmini's daughter, Charumati. And each of those sons also had 10 sons. So the Yadu dynasty was millions. And we heard who were the prominent sons of each of the principal queens. And then the next thing we heard was the marriage of Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and how Pradyumna and Aniruddha married daughters who were related to Rukmi. Were very interesting how Pradyumna was married to the daughter of Rukmi, and Aniruddha, the grandson of Krishna, was married to the grandson of the granddaughter of Rukmi. So even though Rukmi and Krishna had inimical feelings, still the marriage was allowed to go on. And then we heard how the king of Kalinga criticized Balaram and also Krishna, and he challenged Balaram to a gambling match, and how Balaram initially lost because he was not expert at such things. But every time Balaram lost, he would up the ante, he would increase the wager. So finally, Balaram won. But the Rukmi and the king of Kalinga, they challenged, no. Balaram, you didn't win because of this. They were cheating. And so a voice from the sky called out and said, no, Balaram is being blasphemed here in this assembly. So then there was another gambling match. And of course, Balaram increased the wager and won again. But this was intolerable to Rukmi and the king of Kalinga. And again, they claimed they had won. By this time, Balaram had had enough of their harassment. So Balaram killed Rukmi, and he also defeated the king of Kalinga, because every time the gambling match was going on and Balaram lost, according to them, the king of Kalinga was showing his teeth, showing that he was very happy that Balaram was being criticized. So Balaram, with his club, smashed out the teeth of the king of Kalinga, since he showed them being very offensive to Balaram. All right, so now we start a new section. We're going to be dealing with this new section now for a couple of weeks. This is the story of Bana Asura. So this is a very nice section of Krishna book. You don't want to miss any of the upcoming episodes. First chapter is entitled, A Description of the Character of Bana Asura. The meeting of Aniruddha and Usha, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaj Parikshit was eager to hear the whole story from Shukadeva Goswami, and thus Shukadev narrated it. My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all that he had, namely the whole world, and he gave it to Lord Vamana the incarnation of Vishnu, appearing as a dwarf Brahmana. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Bana Asura. So this Bali is actually the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So this Bana Asura comes in that dynasty headed by Hiranyakashipu, but he is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. This great hero, Bana Asura, born of Maharaj Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of Bana Asura's devotion, he achieved a great position in society, and Bana Asura was honored in every respect. Actually, Bana Asura was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities were all praiseworthy, because Bana Asura never deviated from his promise and word of honor. Bana Asura was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, Banasura was ruling over the city of Shonitapura. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Bana Asura had 1,000 arms, and Bana Asura became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving Bana Asura as most obedient servants. Long ago, when Lord Shiva was dancing in his celebrated fashion called Tandava Nritya, for which Shiva is known as Nataraj, Bana Asura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is well known as Ashutosha, one who is very easily pleased. And Shiva is also very affectionate towards his devotees. Shiva is a great protector for persons who take shelter of him, and is the master of all living entities in this material world. Being pleased with Bana Asura, Lord Shiva once said, "Whatever you desire, you can have from me, for I am very much pleased with you." Then Bana Asura replied to Lord Shiva, "O my dear Lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies." Once upon a time, Bana Asura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, Bana Asura offered obeisances unto Shiva. While offering his respectful obeisances, Bana Asura said, "My dear Lord, anyone who has not fulfilled one's ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like a desire tree from which one can take anything he or she desires. My dear Lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, but I do not know what to do with them. They are simply a burden. I cannot use them properly in fighting because I cannot find anyone competent to fight with me except you. You are the father of this material world, sometimes I feel a great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees, knowing my extraordinary power. So, being baffled at not finding a match, I satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against mountains. And in this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces. Lord Shiva now realized that his benediction had become troublesome for Bana Asura. And thus Lord Shiva addressed Bana Asura. You rascal! You are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight with you, now you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I now say that you will eventually find such a competent person. And at that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see your false prestige smashed to pieces. So I like to comment here that this is very similar to when Hiranyaksha, the first demon, along with Hiranyakashipu, appeared in the universe. Hiranyaksha was also traveling throughout the universe, trying to find somebody to fight. And when he approached Varunadev, very intelligent, said, "Oh, no. I'm old. I no longer fight with, I'm an old. But, you rascal Hiranyaksha, you will certainly find your match very soon. For you will come upon Lord Vishnu in his form as a boar, and he will destroy you." And Hiranyaksha became very happy. Finally, I have someone to fight. And of course, he was thinking that he would defeat Lord Varaha, but no. In fact, it is described that Lord Varaha, in killing Hiranyaksha, hardly used any energy. Because some people think that Hiranyaksha was killed being pierced by the tusks of Varaha. But Jiva Goswami, the great disciple of Lord Chaitanya, said, no, here's what happened. Right here at the base of the ear, the lobe, Varaha simply went like this, bing. He just tapped him on the earlobe, and Hiranyaksha dropped dead. Then Varaha pierced. But in terms of actually killing him, it was just like this, boop. Because the Lord is inconceivable. He can do anything with any part of his body and exerts hardly any energy. So these two, Lord Shiva chastising this Bana Asura and Varunadev chastising Hiranyaksha, is the same concept. After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Bana Asura, who was very much puffed up with his power, became elated that he would one day meet someone able to smash him to pieces. Bana Asura then returned home with great pleasure. And Bana Asura always waited for the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. Now there is some notes by Prabhupada and the previous acharyas in this connection. Now, Lord Shiva could have immediately chastised Bana Asura and personally destroy his pride. But since Bana Asura had been such a faithful servant of Lord Shiva, Shiva decided not to do so. So, Bana Asura is herein described as Kudhi, having bad intelligence. And he's also described as Kumati, foolish, because Bana Asura completely misunderstood the actual situation. This demon was so arrogant that he was convinced no one could defeat him. Bana Asura was delighted to hear that someone as powerful as Lord Shiva would come to fight with him and satisfy his itching for battle. Even though Lord Shiva had said that this person would break Bana Asura's flag and destroy his prowess, the demon was too foolish to take this statement seriously, and so he eagerly waited the fight. Bana Asura was such a foolish demon. It appears that foolish, demoniac human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences and want to exhibit these opulences, such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes, being unaware of the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, and the other is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to the demigods, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious persons use everything for sense gratification. And Bana Asura is a perfect example of such a person. So this last statement here by Prabhupada reminds me of the famous Bhagavad Gita verse, where it is explained that the devotees, as it says here, they utilize everything for the service of Krishna, but the non-devotees, they try to exploit everything for their own sense gratification. So it's the same Sanskrit word, but the implication is different. The non-devotees exploit Krishna's energy for their sense gratification, whereas the devotees utilize everything to serve Krishna. And one of the four maxims of ISKCON, utility is the principle. So when you join ISKCON, one of the first things you learn, books are the basis. In ISKCON, we primarily study Prabhupada's books. The basis of our philosophy is Prabhupada's books, as is this Krishna book class. Then, preaching is the essence. Yes, the essence of Krishna consciousness or ISKCON is to preach. And in order to preach, the next principle is utility is the principle. Meaning, for preaching, anything and everything can be used provided it has some connection to Krishna's service. Here you see I'm using a microphone, a headset, a camera, an audio recorder, a mixer, a compressor. I'm using so many material things but not for my personal sense gratification, but I'm utilizing it to preach. And then the last maxim, purity is the force. If you want to be a successful preacher, then one has to be pure. Let us continue. Prabhupada is giving us a purport. So Bana Asura was very eager to utilize for his own satisfaction his extraordinary power to fight. And not finding any combatant, Bana Asura struck his powerful hands against the mountains, breaking them to pieces. In contrast to this, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary powers for fighting, but Arjuna used them only for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Usha and Aniruddha. Bana Asura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usha. Once, when Usha happened to see Parvati playing with her husband, Lord Shambhu, Usha intensely desired to experience the same feelings. At that time, Goddess Gauri, or Parvati, who knows everyone's heart, told the sensitive young girl, "Oh, do not be so disturbed. You will have a chance to enjoy with your own husband. The man who approaches you in your dream on the 12th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month Vaishakha will become your husband, O Princess Usha." So, when Usha had attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst her many girlfriends, Usha dreamt one night that Aniruddha was by her side and that Usha was enjoying a conjugal relationship with Aniruddha. Now, although Usha had never actually seen Aniruddha or heard of Aniruddha before, Usha then awoke from her dream, exclaiming very loudly, "Oh, my dear beloved, where are you? Where are you?" Now, being exposed to her other girlfriends in this way, Usha became a little bit ashamed. One of Usha's girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was the daughter of Bana Asura's prime minister. Chitralekha and Usha were very close friends, so out of great curiosity, Chitralekha asked, "My dear beautiful princess, as of yet you are not married to any young boy, nor have you even seen any boys up until now. So I am surprised that you are exclaiming like this. Tell me, who are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" On hearing Chitralekha's inquiries, Usha replied, "Oh, my dear friend, in my dream I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful. His complexion is swarthy. His eyes are just like lotus petals, and he is dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general bodily features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me. and I was very much enjoying the nectar of his kissing. But I am sorry to inform you that just after this he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the whirlpool of disappointment. Oh, my dear friend, I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired Lord of my heart. After hearing Usha's words, Chitraleka immediately replied, "Yes, I can very well understand your bereavement, and I assure you that if this boy is within these three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, then I must find him for your satisfaction. Now, if you could only identify him from your dream, I shall be able to bring you peace of mind. So now let me draw some pictures for you to inspect. And as soon as you find the picture of your desired husband, then you let me know. Remember, it doesn't matter where he is. I know the art of bringing him here. So as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it." The name Chitraleka indicates a person skilled in the art of drawing or painting. Chitra means excellent or variegated, and Leka means the art of drawing or painting. While talking, Chitraleka began to draw many pictures of the demigods inhabiting the higher planetary systems. Then she drew pictures of the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Panaga serpents, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas. And Chitraleka drew pictures of many human beings. Chitraleka painted so many pictures. Among those of the human beings were the members of the Vrishni dynasty, including Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, Shurasena, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Balaramaji, even Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usha saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful. But when Usha saw the picture of Aniruddha, she became so bashful that Usha immediately lowered her head and smiled. Now she had found the man she was seeking. Usha identified the picture to Chitraleka as that of the man who had stolen her heart. Chitraleka was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usha identified the picture, although neither of them had ever seen him or even knew his name, Chitraleka could immediately understand that the picture was of Aniruddha, a grandson of Krishna. That very night, Chitraleka traveled in outer space and within a very short time reached the city of Dwaraka, which was being well protected by Lord Krishna. Chitraleka herself was an expansion of Yogamaya and was needed to employ her mystic powers, because when she arrived at Dwaraka, Chitraleka found herself unable to enter Lord Krishna's city. So at that time, Sri Narada Muni instructed Chitraleka in the mystic art of entering. Chitraleka entered the palace and found Aniruddha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. And by her mystic power, Chitralekha immediately brought Aniruddha in that sleeping condition to the city of Shonatapur so that Usha might see her desired husband. All right, we are going to stop here and we will continue next week. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.